All right, ready to trade in those spreadsheets for some steel-toed boots today?
Sounds like a plan.
We're diving headfirst into the world of construction equipment technicians, folks.
Yeah, where instead of crunching numbers, you're getting your hands dirty with some seriously impressive machinery, making sure those engines roar to life when they need to.
And if you're looking to really understand this career path, you've come to the right place. We're going deep on all those insights you shared, especially what we got from RoleCatcher.
Oh, RoleCatcher, great platform. They've got everything from nailing those job descriptions to prepping for your interviews.
Absolutely. And what really stands out to me about this field is how much it's changing.
Right. It's not just about grease-stained overalls anymore.
Though those are definitely still part of the picture.
Oh, for sure. But today, you've got to be as comfy with computer diagnostics as you are with a wrench.
It's like being a digital mechanic for, well, for behemoths, really.
Speaking of which, the guide we've got highlights the massive impact these technicians have. And it's true. Think about it. All those skyscrapers, bridges, even the roads we take for granted.
Can't forget them.
None of them would exist without the skilled hands keeping bulldozers, excavators, cranes, all of it in tip-top shape.
The unsung heroes of construction working behind the scenes. They literally shape our world.
They do.
But what's a typical day actually look like for one of these mechanical masterminds?
Well, the guide makes it clear. Monotony isn't in their vocabulary. You could be in a climate-controlled shop one day, and the next you're battling the elements out on a dusty construction site.
Talk about an office with a view.
Right. Or you might even find yourself deep in the forest, taking care of the machines that harvest lumber.
Now, that's a diverse workplace. And speaking of looking ahead, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they're projecting some pretty solid growth for this field, right?
Yeah, about 4% over the next decade, which is actually faster than average for all occupations. Job security is looking pretty good.
All right, so we've got impact, we've got job security, but let's be real. Every job has its ups and downs.
That's true. And the guide acknowledges that.
So spill the beans. What are some of those pros and cons?
Well, on the con side, it is physically demanding, no doubt. We're talking lifting heavy parts, sometimes working in cramped spaces, maybe in challenging weather. Not for everyone.
You've got to be tough, both mentally and physically.
You do. But for those who thrive on hands-on work, seeing those tangible results.
The kind of work where you can really point to it at the end of the day.
Exactly. That sense of accomplishment is huge in this career.
Okay, so imagine this. You diagnose a problem with a piece of equipment worth like millions of dollars.
Oh, the pressure.
Talk about high stakes.
Wow.
But that's got to be a rush too, right?
It's a puzzle. A giant high-stakes puzzle.
Right.
And when that engine roars back to life because of you,
Because of your expertise.
that's the reward. It's not just about fixing things, though. It's about thinking critically, solving problems. You've got to really understand complex machinery to keep these projects moving.
So we've got a job with impact, good job security, a little bit of adrenaline rush in there.
Yeah.
But what about those skills you actually need to succeed?
Right.
And I'm guessing it's not just about knowing your way around a wrench these days.
Well, a strong foundation in mechanics, electrical systems, hydraulics is still crucial. Technology is changing the game, no question.
Changing the game how? Give us an example.
We'll take automation or sophisticated diagnostics.
Hold on. Let's unpack that a little. Sophisticated diagnostics. What does that even mean when we're talking about, say, a bulldozer?
It's high-tech, for sure. Think of it like this. You're using computer-aided tools to figure out what's wrong with a bulldozer's engine, analyzing real-time data to find problems that would have been impossible to spot before.
So they're like tech detectives. That's amazing.
It's a blend, you're right. You need those traditional mechanical skills, but then you layer on the cutting-edge technology. It's no wonder this field is in demand.
It's like the best of both worlds, really.
And that's where platforms like RoleCatcher really come in handy. It's not just about, learning about the career. They give you the tools to actually land the job.
Like what? Give us the rundown.
Resume building, interview prep. They even connect you with potential employers.
It's like having a career coach in your back pocket. And speaking of career coaches, let's talk training. What kind of programs really get you ready for those unexpected challenges on a construction site?
That's where the guide gets really interesting, I think. It breaks down those different paths you can take. So you've got your vocational schools, community colleges.
Right.
They offer these specialized programs in heavy equipment mechanics.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, there's always the good old apprenticeship route.
Ugh, apprenticeships. Can't beat that hands-on experience. Learning from the pros, getting your hands dirty, literally. and getting paid while you're at it.
It's the perfect combo, really. Theory and practice all rolled into one.
Absolutely.
One thing I find really helpful in the guide is how they lay out that typical career progression. You can really see how the responsibilities change, how the skills you need evolve as you move up that ladder from entry level to senior technician.
So no chance of being stuck just fixing flat tires on a backhoe forever then?
Not at all. I mean, you might start there as an apprentice, right?
Right.
Assisting those more experienced colleagues, learning the ropes.
Sure, sure.
But as you gain experience, you might find yourself specializing in a certain type of equipment. You become the go-to expert.
That engine whisperer.
That's it. Everyone's coming to you to solve those mechanical mysteries.
I like it.
And eventually, you could be the one overseeing projects, mentoring those junior technicians, maybe even managing whole teams. The possibilities are pretty wide open, really, and it all starts with that initial spark, that interest.
And that's what we're all about here on the deep dive. Igniting that spark.
There you go.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's circle back to those essential skills. We talked about the technical stuff, but those soft skills, those are key in any career, especially one that's as collaborative as this one.
Oh, you're spot on. Out there on those job sites, it's a team effort. And the guide we've got, it really emphasizes communication as being absolutely crucial. You're constantly interacting with other technicians, with engineers.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe even having to explain those technical details to a client who doesn't speak engine.
Because saying, well, it's the whatchamacallit connected to the thingamajig is probably not going to get you very far.
Unless you're going for a career in stand-up comedy. But being able to communicate those problems clearly, the solutions,
Yeah.
even just basic safety procedures, that's vital.
And speaking of safety, the guide really stresses that, and rightfully so. That's got to be a huge focus in the training.
It's non-negotiable. You're dealing with massive, powerful machinery. Things can get dangerous very quickly if they're not handled properly. So those training programs, they drill in those safety protocols from day one.
It's not just about your own safety either. It's about looking out for your colleagues, anyone else on that job site.
It's about taking responsibility.
Exactly.
I mean, there's problem solving. Don't underestimate that. Because things don't always go according to plan with those complex machines.
That's putting it mildly.
Being able to think on your feet, troubleshoot under pressure, get creative with your solutions.
That's got to come in handy, for sure.
Invaluable skills for a construction equipment technician.
So you're not just a mechanic. You're a detective, a negotiator, a safety advocate. This sounds like a career that keeps you on your toes.
It does.
Which brings me to something else the guide touched on. Specialization. It mentioned how, as you gain experience, you might choose to focus on a particular type of equipment.
Now that's where it gets really exciting, I think. It's like picking your own area of expertise in this massive mechanical world.
Okay, I like that.
Do you want to be the crane whisperer, the excavator guru, maybe the bulldozer doctor?
I'm going for engine enchantress. But seriously, what are some of the things you might think about when you're trying to choose that specialization?
Well, personal interest, for one. That's huge. What kind of machinery really gets you excited, gets your gears turning? Is it the power of those earth movers?
Yeah.
The intricate systems in a crane? Or maybe it's the precision of the paving equipment.
Let's be real, some of these machines are just flat out cool.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not just what you like. You got to think about the job market, too.
Right.
Certain specializations might be more in demand in certain regions or with certain companies. It pays to do your research, see what the industry trends are, what the local needs are.
Makes sense. So you could really become the expert on a specific type of equipment, making yourself even more valuable, a niche within a niche.
Exactly. And that level of expertise often translates into a higher earning potential. Win-win.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, but I want to loop back to RoleCatcher for a sec. We've mentioned them throughout this whole deep dive, but I want to make sure our listener really gets how they go above and beyond just, giving you info.
Oh, for sure. RoleCatcher is like, imagine a toolbox. But instead of wrenches and screwdrivers, it's full of resources to help you launch your career.
I like it.
They got features for building a killer resume, tools to help you practice your interviewing skills.
They even mentioned some AI-powered feedback on practice interviews. Talk about keeping up with the times.
It's like having that virtual career coach right there in your pocket.
Love it.
And don't forget their job board. Specifically designed for careers in this field, streamlining that whole process of connecting with potential employers.
It's about giving job seekers every advantage, helping them put their best foot forward. But even with all the best tools, all the best resources, landing that dream job, It all comes down to one thing, really.
What's that?
The interview. That nerve-wracking make it or break it conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And the guide actually offers some pretty good tips on how to prep for that.
It does. It even gives you examples of common interview questions,
Mm.
which is, I think, incredibly valuable if you're feeling those pre-interview jitters.
Oh, for sure. So let's put ourselves in the hot seat for a minute. Pretend we're the hiring managers. We're interviewing someone for a construction equipment technician position. What are those questions you'd ask to figure out if they're really cut out for this?
You really put me on the spot now, but I like it. Beyond those typical questions like, tell me about your experience, I'd want to see how they handle problem solving.
Okay, so how would you do that?
Maybe I throw them a curveball. A hypothetical scenario, like you're on a job site and suddenly the crane just stops working. Walk me through what you're thinking, what steps you take.
Ah, I like that. Get some thinking on their feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd be listening closely to how they factor safety into their response. Because at the end of the day, skills are important, but a technician who cuts corners on safety, that's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. You've got to see the bigger picture.
Right.
It's not just about fixing that one machine. It's the safety of everyone around you, the cost of downtime, the impact on the whole project.
Could have said it better myself. And to mix it up a little, I'd also ask about specific types of equipment they've worked on.
Oh, yeah, getting to specifics.
Something like, so you mentioned you've got experience with bulldozers. Which model are you most familiar with? What are some of the common issues you run into with that one?
That's where they can really show off what they know.
Exactly. They can geek out a little about hydraulics or engine specs. And I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also where you see that passion, that genuine interest. It really shines through.
It's like that old saying, enthusiasm is contagious. You can tell when someone's really into their work.
Totally agree. And, this whole conversation has got me thinking about something that's really important in this field. And it's not just about having the skills. It's about attitude.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more about that.
That willingness to keep learning, to solve those tough problems, to roll with the punches when new technologies pop up. That's what sets someone apart in this field.
Makes sense. So it sounds like platforms like RoleCatcher could really make a difference in finding the right people with that winning combination of skills and attitude.
Oh, absolutely. They're all about streamlining things, making those connections between the right skills and the right jobs. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
It's like a matchmaking service for skilled trades. Okay, so we've thrown a lot of information at you today. We've talked about what it's really like to do this job, the skills you need, even how to rock that interview. But now, let's turn the focus to you, the listener.
The one who's been taking it all in, maybe picturing themselves in those steel-toed boots.
Exactly. So what really clicked with you today? Was it the challenge of figuring out those complex machines, the satisfaction of seeing those massive projects come together? Or maybe it's the tech side, that whole world of heavy equipment technology that's always evolving.
Because that, my friend, that's where it all starts. That little spark of interest, that curiosity.
Is what fuels you.
It's what keeps you going as you explore this career path. Because it is rewarding, that's for sure.
Okay, so as we wrap things up, any final thoughts for our listeners to chew on?
We talked about specializing in a specific type of equipment, right? But what if you took it a step further?
All right, I'm hooked. What are you thinking?
Imagine. You're not just known for your expertise on a particular machine, but for the way you approach those problems. That unique way you blend traditional mechanics with the cutting edge.
I love it.
What if you became the innovator? The one pushing the boundaries in heavy equipment maintenance and repair?
Now, that's a legacy to be proud of. Talk about leaving your mark. And who knows, maybe someday we'll have you on the deep dive sharing your story.
That'd be fantastic. But until then, keep those gears turning, keep those questions coming, and never lose that passion for learning.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into the world of construction equipment technicians.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, every journey, even one with a bulldozer, starts with a single step.